Look, most guys are out here trying harder and getting nowhere with women. And the reason isn't what they think. Real seduction has nothing to do with lines, looks, or luck. It's a code, a psychological code that controls female desire, shapes attraction dynamics, and puts the right man in complete command of any interaction. Robert Greene cracked it. And in the next few minutes, you're going to see exactly how it works, layer by layer, so that by the time this video is done, you won't just understand seduction, you'll feel the shift. Greene didn't write a dating guide, he wrote a psychological blueprint. And right now, we're about to break it down in a way that actually makes sense in the real world. If this kind of content is something you want more of, do us a solid and drop a like, leave a comment, and share this video with someone who needs to hear it. You might just change someone's trajectory, and that's what this channel is built for. The Seduction Code: How to Seduce Any Woman You Want by Robert Greene. Most men think seduction is about looks, money, or saying the right pickup line. Wrong, dead wrong. Seduction psychology goes way deeper than surface-level tactics, and the men who actually understand this have an almost unfair advantage over everyone else. Robert Greene didn't just write a book, he decoded something ancient, something that's been hiding in plain sight for centuries. And once a man truly gets it, the game changes completely. Not tomorrow, not gradually, immediately. That shift starts right here, right now. Here's what nobody tells guys early on. Women aren't primarily attracted to what a man has attracted to what a man is. Female desire is wired to respond to energy, presence, and psychological depth, not just a guy's bank account or jawline. Greene understood this better than almost anyone. He studied history's greatest seducers from Casanova to Cleopatra and found the same patterns repeating over and over again. These aren't coincidences, they're codes, behavioral codes that trigger something primal inside a woman's mind. Think about the last time a woman seemed completely drawn to a guy who on paper had nothing special going on. Average L-looking, nothing flashy, no fancy car, but there was something about him. That something has a name. It's called attraction dynamics, and it operates almost entirely below the surface of conscious awareness. Women can't always explain why they feel pulled towards certain men. That's not a bug. It's the whole point. Real attraction bypasses logic. It hits the emotional core first, and then the mind tries to rationalize it afterward. Greene's framework starts with one foundational idea. The man who controls the frame controls everything. Power frame is the invisible structure that defines who holds the psychological authority in any interaction. When a man walks into a room and owns it, not loudly, not aggressively, but with quiet certainty, people feel it. Women feel it especially. It's not about dominating the space. It's about being so grounded in yourself that the space naturally reshapes around you. That's not arrogance, that's presence. And presence is magnetic. There's a version of every man that women find irresistible, and most guys never meet that version of themselves. Masculine presence isn't built overnight, but the path to it is clearer than most people think. It starts with how a man carries himself, how he speaks when he chooses to be silent, and how comfortable he is taking up space in a conversation. Greene observed that history's most seductive men weren't the loudest ones in the room. They were the ones who made every person around them feel like they were the only one being seen. Now here's something counterintuitive that most guys get completely backwards. Chasing a woman harder does not make her want you more. In fact, it usually does the exact opposite. Dominant energy isn't about aggression or pressure. It's about a man being so rooted in his own world, his own mission, his own standards, that a woman has to come toward him. Greene called this the withdrawal principle. When a man pulls back with intention, he creates a vacuum, and nature abhors a vacuum. Suddenly, she's the one wondering what you're thinking. One of the most underrated tools in the seduction arsenal is emotional mastery, not emotional expression. Mastery. Emotional control is what separates the man who reacts from the man who responds. When a woman tests a guy, consciously or not, the man who stays unshaken, calm, and slightly amused passes something deep inside her psychology. It tells her, this man can handle pressure. This man is safe, but not soft. That combination is rare, and scarcity, as any economist will tell you, always drives up value. Always. Strategic charm isn't about being smooth or rehearsed. It's about being intentional. Every great seducer in history knew exactly what energy to project in each moment. They knew when to laugh, when to go serious, when to lean in, and when to step back. Green breaks this down with surgical precision in the art of seduction. A man with strategic charm doesn't wing it. He understands that every interaction is a kind of theater, and he's not just an actor, he's also the director. That awareness alone puts him in a completely different category. Reading people is a skill, and like any skill, it can be trained. Social intelligence is the ability to pick up on the unspoken signals in any room. The micro expressions, the body language shifts, the tone changes, the pauses. Women are naturally wired to communicate on multiple levels simultaneously. A man who can operate on those same levels becomes instantly fascinating. He's not just responding to what she's saying, he's responding to what she means. That level of attunement is rare, and rarity, as Green would say, is always seductive. Here's something Green makes crystal clear. People are always watching, always calculating, always assigning value. Status signals are the subtle cues that communicate where a man sits in the social hierarchy without him saying a single word. The way he dresses, the way others react to him, how comfortable he is being seen, all of it sends a signal. And women are extraordinarily perceptive to these signals. It's not shallow, it's evolutionary. A man who understands this stops leaving his status to chance and starts curating it with intention. Mystery is not the same as being cold or distant. A lot of men confuse the two and end up coming across as a via lanuo, or just plain weird. The mystery effect is something far more refined. It's about revealing yourself in layers, giving just enough to spark curiosity, but never quite enough to satisfy it completely. Think about the most compelling stories ever told. They don't dump everything in the first chapter. They pull you forward with questions. A man who understands this becomes a story she can't put down, a puzzle she genuinely wants to solve. Every woman has emotional triggers, specific things that bypass her rational mind and speak directly to her feelings. Desire trigger points are what Green maps out through archetypes like the rake, the ideal lover, and the dandy. These aren't costumes to wear. They're psychological frameworks that reveal what women are actually responding to beneath the surface. When a man identifies which archetype resonates most naturally with his personality, he stops performing and starts being. And that authenticity paradoxically becomes one of the most powerful, seductive forces in existence. Let's talk about neediness because it's quietly killing more men's chances than anything else. The non-needy mindset isn't about pretending you don't care. It's about genuinely having enough going on in your life that any one person, no matter how attractive, can't become your entire world. Green was explicit about this. Desperation is the single fastest way to destroy attraction. Women are drawn to men who have options, not because they're cruel, but because options signal value. A man who's deeply invested in his own growth, purpose, and social life radiates that naturally without faking a thing. Now, here's where things start to get really interesting. Green talks about psychological leverage, which is essentially understanding what a person wants most deeply and positioning yourself as the one who can provide that experience, not through manipulation in a harmful sense, but through genuine attunement. If a woman feels unseen in her daily life, the man who truly sees her becomes extraordinarily powerful in her mind. If she craves adventure, the man who embodies spontaneity becomes irresistible. Understanding what someone hungers for emotionally is one of the most sophisticated tools in the seduction playbook. Take Marcus, for example, 29 years old, good job, decent looking, genuinely kind, and completely invisible to the women he was most attracted to. He'd tried everything: better clothes, hitting the gym harder, reading every dating tip online. Nothing clicked. Then he stumbled onto Green's work and realized something that changed everything. He wasn't losing because of what he lacked. He was losing because of how he showed up. His energy was apologetic. His presence was seeking approval. The moment he started embodying sexual polarity, owning his masculine energy without apology, women started responding differently almost immediately. Marcus didn't become a different person. He became a clearer version of himself. He stopped shrinking. In conversations, he held eye contact longer. He expressed opinions without hedging every sentence. He let silences breathe instead of rushing to fill them. And something fascinating happened. The women around him started leaning in literally and figuratively. Charismatic authority isn't a personality type you're born with. It's a set of behaviors rooted in self-rust. And Marcus discovered that self-rust isn't found. It's built rep by rep, interaction by interaction, choice by choice. What Marcus was really doing without fully realizing it at first was upgrading his inner game. And this is where the real transformation happens. Not in technique, but in identity. When a man genuinely believes he is worth pursuing, that belief radiates outward in ways he can't fully control or fake. His posture changes, his voice deepens, his decisions become sharper. Women don't just respond to what a man does, they respond to who he is at his core. And building that core is the most important work any man can do. And right here, quick pause. If this content is opening your eyes to things you've been missing, hit that like button right now and subscribe to the channel, because what's coming next goes even deeper. Most people won't act on this, but the ones who do are the ones who actually change their results. Don't be the guy who watches and keeps scrolling. Be the one who shows up differently starting today. Let's keep going. The scarcity principle is one of Green's most powerful observations, and it applies directly to attraction. When something is rare, it's perceived as more valuable. A man who is fully present in the moment but not always available, who has genuine passions, commitments, and a life that doesn't orbit around any one woman, automatically triggers this principle. He's not playing games, he's living, and a full life is inherently more attractive than a man whose entire schedule clears the moment she texts back. That contrast is felt even when it's never spoken aloud. Green also understood that influence works best when it's invisible. Subtle influence is the art of shaping a dynamic without ever forcing it. It's the slight smile at the right moment, the well-timed compliment that feels specific, not generic, the question that shows you actually listened 3 conversations ago. These small moves compound over time into something that feels, from her perspective, like an almost unexplainable pull toward you. She won't be able to articulate why she's thinking about you. That's by design. The best seduction leaves no fingerprints. It's worth spending a moment on something Green addresses with serious nuance: dark triad awareness. Understanding the darker psychological patterns, like narcissism, Machiavellianism, and psychopathy, isn't about becoming those things. It's about recognizing them in yourself and others. Some seducers, throughout history, wielded these traits destructively. Green doesn't glorify that. He illuminates it so men can understand the full psychological landscape of attraction, make conscious choices, and ultimately build connections rooted in genuine power rather than exploitation. Awareness is always the first step toward mastery. Frame control is one of those concepts that sounds abstract, and until you experience it in real time. Imagine 2 people having a conversation. One is reacting to everything the other says, adjusting, accommodating, seeking approval. The other is steady, grounded, occasionally amused, never rattled. The second person holds the frame. And here's the thing: whoever holds the frame holds the emotional temperature of the interaction. Women are deeply attuned to this. A man who can maintain his frame under pressure, even playful pressure, communicates something deeply attractive. He knows exactly who he is. There's a frequency that magnetic. Confidence operates on that most guys never tune into because they're too busy performing confidence rather than feeling it. Real confidence isn't loud. It doesn't announce itself. It's the man who speaks at his own pace, who doesn't rush to explain himself, who's comfortable with a pause in the conversation. Practicing this can start small. Try apps like Toastmasters or dive into resources like The Charisma Myth by Olivia Fox Cabane, which pairs beautifully with Green's framework. and gives practical science-backed tools to build authentic confidence from the inside out. Seduction is never one sin fits all. Behavioral calibration is Green's reminder that the most effective seducers are also the most adaptable. Reading what a specific woman responds to and adjusting your approach accordingly isn't manipulation. It's emotional intelligence in action. Some women respond to wit and playful tension. Others respond to depth and philosophical conversation. A well-calibrated man doesn't have a single script. He has a range, and that range comes from genuine curiosity about people, which ironically is one of the most naturally seductive qualities a man can develop. Being a high-value man isn't a status you claim. It's a standard you live by daily, consistently, even when no one's watching. It shows up in how you treat people when there's nothing to gain. It shows up in whether you keep your word to yourself. It shows up in your health, your discipline, your standards for what you allow in your life. Women pick up on this, not always consciously, but always accurately. They can feel whether a man's confidence is built on something real or whether it's just a front. The ones built on something real are the ones that last. A complete seduction strategy isn't a set of tricks. It's a philosophy of living. Green's work ultimately points to this. Become someone so genuinely compelling that attraction isn't something you chase. It's something that follows you. That means investing in yourself relentlessly, reading widely, building skills, expanding your social world. Men who follow channels, books, and communities focused on self-mastery, think modern wisdom, Imani, or even diving deep into Stoic philosophy, give themselves an intellectual and psychological edge that quietly transforms every interaction they have. Here's a truth that doesn't get said enough. Seduction without integrity is just manipulation. Green's deepest message, buried beneath all the strategy, is that the most seductive men in history had a powerful sense of self. They weren't performing for women. They were living for something bigger, and women were drawn into that orbit. When a man builds a life he's genuinely proud of, when his actions align with his values, when he shows up fully, that alignment creates an energy that no pickup line, no trick, no tactic could ever replicate. That's the real code. The journey from invisible to irresistible isn't about becoming someone else. It's about stripping away everything that was never really you to begin with. The people leasing, the apologetic posture, the fear of taking up space. What's left underneath is something far more powerful. A man who knows his worth, moves with purpose, communicates with precision, and connects with depth. That man doesn't need to seduce. His presence does it for him. Green spent decades studying this. The roadmap exists. The only question now is whether a man is willing to walk it. Every concept covered here, from psychological leverage to sexual polarity, from frame control to magnetic confidence, points to the same destination. A version of yourself that doesn't beg for attention, doesn't perform for approval, and doesn't shrink to make others comfortable. A man who has done the inner work, who understands the game at a psychological level, who moves through the world with quiet certainty. That man is rare, and as Green would remind you, rarity is always the most seductive thing in the room. The code has been revealed. What happens next is entirely up to you. So here's the real question. Now that you have the code, what are you going to do with it? Are you going to keep moving through life the same way, getting the same results? Or are you finally going to start showing up as the man you actually have the potential to be? Because everything covered in this video, from non-needy mindset to charismatic authority, from power frame to high-value man, it's not theory. It's a blueprint. And blueprints only work when someone actually builds something with them. Green didn't write this for men who want to manipulate women. He wrote it for men who are serious about understanding human nature at its deepest level, and using that understanding to create genuine, powerful connections. The difference between the man who gets this and the man who doesn't isn't talent, it's decision. So make yours today. Here's your challenge. Pick just one concept from this video and apply it this week. 1. Whether it's working on your frame control, practicing emotional control in a conversation, or simply moving through your day with more masculine presence, one shift, one rep, that's how transformation actually starts. And drop a comment right now with this phrase, I'm activating the code. That's your commitment. That's you telling yourself and everyone watching that you're done playing small. Say it in the comments. Own it publicly. That simple act matters more than you think. From the bottom of this channel's heart, thank you. Seriously, you didn't just click on a video. You invested time in yourself, and that's not something everyone is willing to do. That says something real about who you are and who you're becoming. This community is built for men like you, men who are hungry, serious, and ready to level up in every area of life. If this video added any value to your journey, please hit that like button. It helps more men find this content who need it just as much as you did. Share it with a friend, a brother, someone in your circle who's ready to hear this. Subscribe to the channel and turn on notifications, because what's coming next goes even deeper into the psychology of power, attraction, and self-mastery. You do not want to miss it. This is just the beginning. The code is yours now. Use it well.